welcome back, everybody. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show here on S3. It's time to switch lanes and focus on the kids for just a little bit. And we know from generation to generation, purity has been an integral part of South African families and really continues to support parents on their parenting journey, which can be very daunting. But we asked you to send any parenting questions you have, and joining us this morning to answer them, we brought out the big ones this morning. We have specialist pediatrician and certified allergist. We have Dr. Tulja Jakamji, as well as pediatric dietitian in nutrition, Kath McGaw. I don't think there's two more fitting people to answer all of the questions. Ladies, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Lots of questions. I will start with you, Kath. So this is a question from Jacqueline, and she asked, she said, my baby is 1 year and 10 months old. I've tried everything I can think of to try and introduce him to solids, but he would rather only have his baby formula milk than eat food. Is this cause for concern, and what more can I do? Please, please help. It sounds like a mom that really needs all the answers. So, Kath, this one is for you.
Shame, yeah, no, that is something that we do see, but definitely from a year, it is a concern if a child is only wanting to drink milk and not wanting to try different types of solids. So one of the things I would definitely encourage is decrease the milk intake, and you do have power to do that as a mum. It feels hard, but actually babies adapt fairly easily, because if they're filling up on milk, he's not going to want to eat. And then offer types of solids that they can also self-feed. That, remember, a bottle is very quick. They can drink it, get the nutrition, and be on their way. Because a toddler's job description is to learn and discover new things, not to sit down still and eat a whole meal. So it needs to be very simple, quick and easy, on the go. So whether it's a pouch that they can just eat while they're running and playing, whether it's some finger food that you put out for them. So just start to encourage and make feeding times really fun, because toddlers need to be motivated to eat, and that's really important, because if they're not motivated, they're not going to want to eat. So they need to be hungry, that's part of the motivation, and they need to learn something or discover something or explore something.
And I think you mentioned this many months ago, is play around with colors as well. Kids are visuals, our toddlers love to see visuals, so play around with peas and reds and all of that. You're not off the hook. There's another question for you. So Adri asked, allergies or intolerance? We have a 15-month-old who seems to be allergic to eggs and milk. She has also reacted to lentils twice, with redness around her eyes and mouth and a rash on her cheeks, which gets better, but then it returns. We haven't tested yet, as the clinic won't unless we're on medical aid. Please, can you help? We have anxiety now when it comes to introducing new foods such as fish, peanut butter, etc. So, Tulja, help this mama out.
So this is a tricky one, Jamie, because often we, Kath and I, are always encouraging mums to expose kids to foods and to introduce the foods early. But a rash on the face and cheek sounds like an actual allergic reaction, especially if it's occurring immediately after exposure to the food. So this mum really is in a conundrum, because if you're having this reaction on the skin and it's occurring on exposure, that sounds like it could be an allergy. Unfortunately, in this case, you need to be careful and tread carefully. Milk and eggs are those two things that at 15 months kids would initially react to, because those are the foods that they would initially have an allergy to. And then coming to the legumes as well. Legumes are, most people don't realize, but in the same family as nuts and peanuts. So I often call tree nuts, peanuts, and many of the lentils and legumes cousins. So if a child is reacting to a legume, that would include a chickpea, beans, peas. Even things like coconuts fall within the nut trajectory if you're going to have an allergy. You always need to be quite careful with that. This mum, unfortunately, is going to need to test foods out differently and see a doctor. You may not get allergy tests at the clinic, but ensure that this child is seeing a doctor, so that whether it's introduction by a doctor professionally in a clinic, or whether it's the test that they could perhaps refer a patient to get done, the correct diagnosis is made. An important part of the management in this child is getting the correct diagnosis, because the child would then want to overcome the allergy. if we do have a confirmed milk or egg allergy, we now have good data that suggests that kids grow out of it. So you want to get the right doctors involved, because when the child eventually grows out of it, you want the child to be eating the milk and eating the eggs,
and eating all
getting
of
the
lentils,
peanuts
getting everything in.
Exactly, so that you eventually have got a little adult, a young adult or a teenager who doesn't have these allergies.
Okay, sticking with Adri's question as well, as here's another one. What foods are generally the safest allergy-wise when it comes to introducing solid foods, and what would you suggest parents try if they are trying to introduce solids as well?
So if there isn't a concern about an allergy, unlike this mom who sent through the first question, then actually I want the allergens introduced as early as possible. And that would be the cow's milk first, peanut butter in the cereal, what I always recommend to my moms, even if it's 2 to 3 times a week, and the scrambled egg in as soon as possible. Depending on where the seafood is in your diet, get the fish in as well, because then you know that your kid is exposed and you don't have to worry about allergy. If you've got a reaction, you need to tread carefully with these things. And then what you need to do is worry about, this is Kat's expertise, the nutrition. Because if you're dealing with a child who's got food allergies, then you want to ensure that their nutrition and their development isn't affected by the food allergy itself. So like Kat always talks about diversity. You want to get in your proteins, you want to get in your carbs, you want to get in enough kilojoules so that the child has enough to grow, and ensure that you've got a good variety from all the different food groups based on the family's diet. I think we always need to take into account when we're giving advice to families that we have cultural differences, we have differences in our finances as well. So you need to always bear in mind that it's not a hard and fast rule of you need to eat X, Y, and Z. Whatever you introduce as much diversity as possible.
Okay, we have one more for you, Kath. So Tessa asked, why is it so difficult putting my baby to sleep? I tried everything, even putting her in the car and taking her for a drive. Any secrets or reasons why I am struggling?
So often going to sleep is a routine-based thing, and there's certain things that you can do leading up to bedtime to trigger to a child it's time for sleep. One of them could be a nice bath, using some of the lovely Purity gentle wash, the lavender. It's got chamomile in it, so those are very soothing. So it starts those smells, and that will trigger the little baby's brain going, this is now leading me into bedtime and into a routine. Sometimes it might be just sitting on your lap, giving a bit of milk, reading a little story. Even when they're little, just what are you going to do every night to trigger that I'm now going to go to sleep? And then lastly, and I just have to bring this in as a dietitian, is make sure that they've eaten enough in the day so they're not semi-hungry. None of us like to go to sleep semi-hungry. So just reassess what your child's eaten in the day so that you know that their little tummies are full, they've had enough nutrition, and that they're ready to sleep.
And often with new moms, when they are feeling anxious, that always obviously relates to the child. So I think for any parent, any mom out there, just take a breath. Sometimes you are anxious and maybe that's why the baby's not sleeping. But ladies, as always, it's great to have you on our panel, and I'm sure the viewers really appreciated all of you answering their questions. But for you to help those little ones be the best that they can be, Purity promises to be there every little step of the way. And Purity are giving 2 lucky viewers the chance to each win a 500 Rand Take-A-Lot voucher. All you have to do is simply reply to the competition post on the Expresso Facebook, Twitter or Instagram page and tell us what your favorite part of being a parent is. I'm sure there is a long list, but of course remember to include that hashtag Purity Promise in your answer, and the competition closes Friday the 22nd of July at midday, and those T's and C's can be found on our website expressoshow.com.
I hope you'll always know how much I love you. I hope that you never stop learning and growing. It all begins with Purity.